Art Doors here with the Gear Bunker. We're going to be conducting a torture test of the Olight Warrior Mini flashlight. This is a small pocket flashlight, high lumens, multiple functions. We'll get into that a little bit more in another video. But what we're going to be doing here is torture testing this over the next day and a half or so, seeing how well it can stand up to abuse. The tests that we're going to do are based on things that I've seen during my career as a police officer and in private security, what happens to gear and how it stands up to different abuses. The first test we're going to do with the Olight Warrior Mini is what I call the freeze test. I'm basing this on situations I saw when I was a police officer where cops would drop their light, especially in the wintertime, falls into a slush puddle. They don't realize that it's not in their pocket or it's not in the pouch on their belt or something. At the end of the shift, they realize that it's not there and they don't get back till the next day. So it's been sitting out in the weather, freezing overnight or during the day for 10, 12 hours, depending on the length of their shift. And some of the gear stood up, a lot of times it didn't. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Olight Mini. I've got a little pan here with some chopped ice in it and water. And I'm just going to place it in here just like it fell out of someone's pocket. So last night I put this in a little pan full of water and ice, simulating it falling out of someone's pocket into a slush puddle. Left it in the freezer overnight. I got home from work a couple hours ago, so simulating that it's been out like over the course of say 15 hours, 12 hours, a shift before someone could come back and get it. It's frozen in here pretty solid, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Benchmade triage, break it up a little bit, get it out. A little bit of ice everywhere. This reminds me of this actually happening once back, and there we go. 15 hours in the water and ice, and it's still working like a champ. These tests are based on my experience as a police officer and working security, seeing what happened when tactical flashlights first came out. A lot of them didn't have lanyards or pocket clips or anything like that. A lot of times in high stress situations, officers, they try and stuff them in their pocket or back in the pouch, or sometimes tuck them into their waistband. They'd fall out, they'd be hitting the ground, getting kicked and things like that. Sometimes suspended in the pocket, hitting the vehicle car door and things like that. So we're going to test some of these out, and we're going to see how the Olight Warrior Mini stands up to some abuse. This is going to simulate like an officer dropping this out of their pocket, or they miss their pocket or the pouch. In a scuffle, it falls to the ground and gets kicked, hits a wall or a curb. And usually a light's not going to hit the ground this hard in the normal, where someone just misses their pocket or the pouch. But drop it. Okay, first one, we lost the clip on there, but still working. So do it a couple more times. One more time. That one popped out the end cap, but it's still going strong. That's a pretty solid test of the Olight Warrior Mini. Not going to get too much more abuse than that on the street on an average day. So another situation that I've seen happen is, especially when lanyards came out, officers wearing them on their offside. I'm right-handed, so this would be my offside. And they get into a scuffle, and they've got the light. They drop the light, and now it's flailing around. They get on the ground, or they're backed up against the wall or something like that. And now this thing's getting whacked against the wall, taking all kinds of abuse until they can get the subject under control. So we're going to give it a try, see how it stands up to taking some hits against the wall, and we'll see what happens after that. First thing that happened was the clip and the lanyard popped off. The light is still working. We're going to give it another couple hits and see what happens, see how that works. The clip is still functional on there, can still go on. Getting a little scuffed up, but other than that, You can see the beam's still working, it's still coming on, no problem. Pretty tough standing up to this so far. Give it a couple more. And I don't know if you can see it here, you know, it's getting some scratches on it, but it's still holding up really good. Beam's still working, no problem. I'll tell you honestly, this is not the kind of abuse I would be putting a flashlight through, you know, except for really in the line of duty. It's still coming on here, no issues. So some of the issues I've had with some of my lights over the years, especially the smaller lights that clip onto your pocket, is in and around vehicles. One of them is occasionally, I've got the Olight Warrior Mini up here on the back of my vehicle, is leaving it up there, forgetting about it. All of a sudden you got to go to a call, something happens, you got to move on, and it just drops off, you know. So we're going to do a couple things. We're going to let it drop off. I've also had it where it gets caught in the door and gets slammed in the door a few times. That's ruined a few of mine over the years, and also being run over. So we're going to test those things, and we're going to see how it holds out. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the drop test, driving away, and then we'll come back, set up for some of the other tests. So if you can see, the light it dropped off, no damage to it. I mean, that was a minor test. The beam's still working fine. The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to move the camera, reset it up, and we're going to see what happens when it gets slammed in the door. I've had that happen a number of times and ruined a few lights, so we're going to see what happens with that. What generally happens is the clip gets hooked up on the seat belt, especially in an older vehicle. My vehicle is kind of old. The seat belt will dip down a little bit. You don't think it's there, you don't notice it's gone, you slam the door, and all of a sudden you hear crunch. So if you see here, what I've done is I've kind of rigged the seat belt on the vehicle so it dips down a little bit. The Olight Warrior Minis clipped onto the seat belt. That's happened to me dozens of times. You get out of the vehicle, you don't even notice until this happens. The door just slams on it, closes, like that. Beam's still working good. I mean, this thing takes a lot of abuse. I've had flashlights just give it up from something like that. We'll give it a couple more and see what happens. Yeah, knocked it off, left the clip on there. Beam's still going. No problem. Just going to try it a little bit different. Put it in there like this and see what happens. Slam and close, extend, close. Still there, still going. Next thing we're going to do is drive over it, and we'll see how that works out for me. Okay, so I've got the light placed just out in front of my front tire there. I'm going to start up the car, roll over it a couple times, and we'll see how it holds up with that. So after running it over in the last test, the Olight Warrior Mini is pretty scuffed up. I'll post some closer pictures on it. The bezel is still in good shape. It's still working strong. No problem with that. I think these are really some pretty honest, realistic tests. These are based on my experience. And, you know, this thing is held up. It's dinged up, it's a little bent, but it's still working strong. The lanyard and the pocket clip are a little tore up, but you know, they're still functional on there. This is a really high quality, good piece of kit. I would have loved to have this back when I was on the police department and when I was doing a lot of really intensive security. All these things, like I said, I did a lot of work as a police officer. I was on a narcotics task force entry team. I was a civil disorder team leader. I was a patrol officer, EMT, and this would be a great light to have. Strong, multifunctional, a lot of different options for the lighting, and it just can really take a beating. One of the things I didn't mention when I did the fall off the vehicle test, it has a magnet on the bottom here. This is how it charges. It's a magnet. You can stick it right on here and it hangs on. Not so much there, but on the roof. So if you did leave it on the roof, it probably wouldn't fall off unless you were really going at a high speed, but it would buy you a little bit of time if you remembered that it was up there. So I really like this. The MSRP on these is $79.99. I think it's a good purchase if you're in the market for something like this. So this is Art Doors for the Gear Bunker. Remember to like, subscribe, and share the Gear Bunker on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. It's Art Doors out till the next review. Thank you.